Hello, welcome to the Woman Cave. Yes. Yeah. It is a victory. Jade is.
Please understand.
Hold on, I gotta do my victory dance though. Yeah, victory dance. Victory dance. Victory dance.
I can't see it.
It doesn't matter. You knew what happened, and that's all that matters. You can't see it, but you knew what happened.
I was distracted. I was making sure because in the previous interview, I found out about malfunctions. I'm making sure all the malfunctions are not happening. So I was distracted. You won.
That's a real thing.
No, she just wants to. She wants to have an excuse, and there is no excuse. I won fair and square, and this is Winona.
Oh, really? And you're Jade. Did you say that?
I said I was Jade because Jade was doing her victory dance.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Anyway, you guys, we wrote Literary Life Guides.
No, remember we have to say this thing before we say Literary Life Guides.
Oh, the fun thing. Yes. Okay. Go.
So here's the thing we have to say. We started a new podcast, so that's exciting. Yay! So you remember that script that we wrote and turned into a book because we really we do crazy things like that, like strange things like that. Yeah. So actors actually read it. We had a table read of it. Professional actors. So episode 1 is up on the Ladies Tales podcast, and then there will be the
actors liked it so much.
Interview.
They asked me to write episode 2, and so I have. And there's also interviews of what they thought of episode 1 and what to happen in episode 2.
So you can check that out on the Ladies Tale podcast, which you can find at www.andwethought.com. It's right there on the homepage. And then we wrote Literary Life Guides with pop poetry, right? So here's the top 4 because, there's a bunch of them out there. So here it is. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy. And I thought... And I thought I did
it's blocking
my journey alone, and if only I were me. And then you can check out our magazines that we have also, the 25 hottest indie authors, artists, and advocate magazine, and the And I Thought Literary magazine. Everything your ladies are doing, you can check out on www.andwethought.com. All right, but y'all aren't here to hear us drone on about new podcasts and whatever else we're doing.
We have a wonderful guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Terry Menifee-Gow, and I am just grateful to be here. Thank you, guys. This is really very, very cool. Things that you guys want to know about me. Let's see. I do a lot of stuff. I guess that's the biggest thing about me, and it all boils down to story. So I'm a narrative theologian, if that makes any sense. And I write screenplay. I also write blog. I also have a podcast about narrative theology and about a theological look at film and novel. So that's kind of my thing that I do on the side. I also have a regular full-time job, but because I am not busy enough, that's why I say I do a lot of things.
Wow. Ooh, okay. So that's a lot of hats. Like I thought that, wow. Yeah.
I'm also an actor too. So I do a little bit of everything. So when you talked about acting and people doing a table read, that's fantastic. That's really.
Do you want a part?
Let me know.
I think I got a part.
You got a part? Yes. The answer is always yes. The answer in this industry.
So, I
have a question.
Okay, sure.
Nope.
Sure. No, it's fine.
Thank you. I did research, so therefore I want to say my question.
Oh.
I'm kind of proud. I found that you do collaborations.
I do.
Like a lot of times, you work with other authors, James Rivers Writers, and the Virginia Scream Forum.
Yeah.
How does that help improve your own writing style?
Oh my gosh. So I really started writing screenplay more seriously about 5 years ago. And part of it was because I turned a certain age and nobody wanted to cast me anymore because I was a woman of a certain age and there's only this many women parts in scripts. So I started writing on my own and I realized that my writing was okay and it was good, but it really needed some help. And so I started going to the I started going to the Virginia Screenwriters Forum. And so the way that works is every month we meet and we critique each other's writings. You get 2 writers there. And so I'm critiquing as I go and I'm learning what other people are saying works and doesn't work. I'm finding books that might help me. And then I found a smaller group of people within that meet also, and we just really hone each other's art, which is fantastic. And let me just say, if you're a writer, you really need somebody else's eyes on your work. You absolutely do, and they're just fantastic. James River Writers is really for writers all over Virginia, but it can be all over the region. And they also really cater to folks who are writing novel or writing nonfiction. And they help with, I'm on their board now. And so they're really fantastic as far as finding the connections and finding workshopping and really creating a community of writers. Because if you're a writer, oftentimes that's a very solitary kind of endeavor, and you really don't get an opportunity to really make those connections with other writers. And so James River Writers is like the best for community of writers in this region, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't just say that because I belong there or that I'm on their board, but I also really believe it. They're fantastic.
So as you mentioned that in most scripts, there's only like a few roles for women.
I've never heard such a my script.
Well, not in ours, but anyway, doesn't matter. You said there's only like a few roles. And
yeah.
How are you trying to change that in all of your work that you're doing?
Well, in the work that I'm doing, I'm specifically looking at making sure that we have women leads, in particular older women, in particular women of color, in particular women of differing gender on the gender spectrum. And so I'm trying to make the work that I'm doing as diverse as my city, and my city is pretty diverse. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And luckily in the screenwriting groups that I've got, they really do hold us accountable to stuff like that. A lot of scripts will come through and people will, this is just one of the instances of, of issues with screenwriting, is that many times if you do have a female in the script, they'll just, they'll describe her as pretty and 25 or hot bod, and that's it. But they'll fully describe a male character. And it's the same with people of color. They'll just describe them as their ethnicity, and that's it. There'll be no other, it's like that is who they are. And that's not really a full character analysis as you're looking at a script. And so the idea is to bring more representation to my scripts. And so I've got a couple of scripts that are out there that have got pretty solid representation, particularly one that I had to actually fight to keep her over 40. So, so yeah, that's really what I've been up to.
Absolutely.
I noticed that you tend to use story in different ways. So what do you think are the 3 basic concepts of story that a writer should always have?
Oh, wow, that's a deep question. I think stories, gosh, I don't even know how to answer that question.
She can't do like a Friday afternoon with a deep question, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, like where is that margarita that I need? So that I can...
Like on your website, you were mentioning like how when you tell a story, you can go on about groceries and having...
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, she makes that wonderful. But then I remember I wrote an entire story on that. And it was funny because you think a moment that everyone has cannot be a story with a different perspective or viewpoint.
Right. So I think story, number one, has to be personal. I think that if it's not personal, if it's not a piece of me, it's the same with acting. So I'm an actor as well. And when I'm acting, I actually reveal a piece of who I am, a piece of my soul, so that others can see it. It's the only way that they'll connect with you, really. Other people won't connect with you, or you'll just look like you're play acting. You're just kind of putting on a face, unless it's real. And so I think story has to be personal. It has to be about your experience, even if you're putting it in the experience of another character. I think it has to carry some kind of a truth to it. There has to be, and the truth is often funny, and often heartbreaking at the same time. So I think that stories about me going into the grocery store and trying to find groceries are just really true stories. But I think that the grocery motif or that story is really telling you about something deeper and a deeper level about who I am and about how I want to connect with the other person who's reading it. And I hope they connect with the humanity that they have inside. And I think stories, you know, for better or for worse, need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I mean, I really believe in structure, and I don't care if you take and mix the structure up, but you can't just rattle on about stuff. There has to be some kind of pattern to it, some kind of structure to hold it together. Does that make sense?
No, I love that.
That made a lot of sense, and I liked it very much. But I have another question. What are the top 3 things that you would tell people that are trying to just break into writing in general?
Because it's a daunting task.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. First of all, believe you've got something to say. Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's story matters, and everybody has something to say. The thing that I think blocks people sometimes is the fact that nobody's going to want to hear this. Nobody's going to like this. My story is trite. My story is, everybody's told this story. And it's like, yeah, there's only like 7 stories in the world. Everybody has told a story, but nobody has told your story. So you need to put your spin on it. You always have something to say. The second thing I would say is find a group of people who are as hungry as you are, who want to be published, who want to see their work produced, who want to get it out there. Because if you're just hanging out with people who are dallying, that's all you will do. So find a solid cohort of folks who want to see you succeed and who want to succeed themselves, because then you can support each other. And then I would say, find out how to write. I mean, it's just, know your grammar. Find out I write screenplay. And so there's a format for that. Know the format. Get to know the technical stuff you can learn from a book, or you can learn online, or you can learn anyway. But it's the being able to be vulnerable enough to say that my story matters and really wanting to put it out there. That's bravery, and that's what takes the guts to do. Everybody's got a talent. What is hard is going into the deep, dark place where that talent lives.
You said before that you had to fight for a particular character. So how does an artist know when it's time to fight and when it's time to back down? Because I personally know when checks come my way, I'd be like, fight what?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I had a manager on my side, and that was helpful. My script was being picked up by somebody in LA who wanted to go shop it around. And he had an idea that it would be great to use this one actress who is very young. And he wanted to bring her in. And he was still willing to have the man in the show to be 50 some years old. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of creepy. And so, I think for me, I was still at that time incredibly idealistic enough to believe that what I wrote mattered. And a lot of the story actually hinged on the fact that they were older, and this was an intergenerational story, and we were trying to draw a line between folks who were of this generation and then some millennials. And so I really wanted to have an older character there. And so I talked it over with my manager. I'm like, I know we could probably just rush forward and find this one actress, and she would probably say yes, but I'm really not comfortable with that. What do you think? She goes, we're sticking to it. And I'm like, okay. And so I put it out there, and I argued like 3 separate arguments with this producer about this. And he finally said, okay, let's try it. And it's working. I've got a director who's interested in it, and they're putting together a group of talent to take to Netflix and to Amazon. So I'm excited.
Fabulous.
I'm always happy to hear people who are at the pitching stage.
I love it.
The real pitching stage.
I love it.
It's scary. It's so scary. I'm like,
and yet, like, you're hopeful, but yet it's like super scary because I guess as artists, we do have a vision. And
yes.
you kind of want to like relay that vision without impeding your payday. Now,
Right.
you have to find that balance, that give and take, that compromise. Like, okay, if this person is over 40, then this guy, maybe he'll be slightly blah, 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 not exactly how you wrote him. And you have to be like, okay, is that like a breaking point? Because at some point, money is a thing.
At some point, money is a thing. And honestly, I think if he had come to me today, a year later, saying, I think I've got this person, I might say yes. But in retrospect, I'm looking at it, and honestly, this actress said yes to everything this past year, and she's kind of flooded the market with herself. And so I'm kind of grateful that I said no at that point. He also had a very different vision for the show. He had more of it's a comedy, but it's more of a dramedy. And he was thinking it was more like a Seinfeld kind of thing. And I was just like, not really Seinfeld. Seinfeld is really 25 years ago. So.
Oh, my.
So where can people find out more about you and the projects you have going on?
And the James River Conference that's coming up.
Oh, James River Conference is so exciting. So I'm going to be, I will be actually moderating at the James River Writers Conference as some of the writers that are there, and I'll be reading some of their works, and we'll be chatting. It'll be great. James River Writers Conference is going to be middle of October. It is every year. And this year it's going to be online. So people from all over the country and all over the world can get involved. It's very cool. You can find out more about me on my blog, which is rageforexplaining.com. That comes from Mark Twain. Mark Twain wrote this great short story called Eve's Diary. And I was in the play based upon that. And the man who played Adam had to say, she has such a rage for explaining. And I do. I talk a lot. And if you haven't figured it out, I do have a rage for explaining. And so it's called rageforexplaining.com. And you can find me there. You can also find, we have a podcast, my partner in England, Jamie Reeves, Dr. Jamie Reeves, she's a PhD in theology. She and I both have got a podcast on the Outlander series. Yeah, I know. Isn't it just, yes, I know, right? So I love Outlander. And so we do a podcast on a theological, religious, and spiritual reflection on Outlander. And so we talk about all kinds of cool things there. And so that's been going on for a couple of years, and you can find that at outlandersoul.com. So we're searching for the soul of Outlander.
That's fabulous. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you guys for asking me.
Jade, would you like to wrap us up?
Absolutely. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. Okay, so we have two things now. While you're there, take a moment, go down to the bottom of the homepage and see the podcast. Go ahead on over to the Ladies Tale podcast. Subscribe, I guess, right? We're asking for subscribers now, right? So, and listen to the first podcast, first episode of the managers, whatever. Why is my mouth not working?
So go to the Ladies Tale podcast, look for the managers. It'll be episode 1. Listen to it. We'd love some feedback on that. And then while you're there, go on over to the ladies page.
Yes, go to the middle and see the charities that we proudly support. Yes, we know, as the old saying goes, a lot today, money is funny. And so you might not be able to donate to them. But you might have some things that you have around your house that you wanted to donate to a charity. You might want to think about them, or some time, because depending on what you're doing right now, you might have some time on your hands. You might want to donate some time to the charity. And if you can't do that, we understand. Just go on over to their page, fill out the contact us form, and tell them thank you so much for doing such good work in the world, because we all need a measure of encouragement to continue. I know I do, to continue on and doing what we're doing. So Thank you so much in advance for that. And remember, wisdom is all around you.
You're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening.